Hey, Shalom, Shalom. We want to give all praises due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rahah, Wakar Kwadash, and double honors to the apostles at Great Millstone, and the bishops and the elders on down, and the high priest that taught them. And Shalom, this is Yah Demai from the Great Millstone, Houston camp. And I'm gonna bring out a little lesson today, right? Going into Isaiah 4 and 1. And I was just watching the brothers out there in Vegas, and the head brother um, that's out there in Vegas had went into Isaiah 4 and 1. And in the chat, what's that? Chat GPT. It's like you. And but I'm gonna read the scripture first, okay? And we're gonna go into it. I'm gonna read the King James and the NLT. Isaiah 4 and 1. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Right. You know, there's going to be women out here. They ain't going to have no men. There ain't going to be no men left. The only men that's going to be left out here in these days is the men of Yahweh Shema Shai. And these women going to see it and they're going to know these are the men of the Lord, and they're gonna flock to them, you know. And all they want to do, they want to, be called by His name, you know, and and do things for Him, right? To take away their approach, you know, they sins or whatever they got going, take it away from them. And let's read it from on the NLT. In that day, for Isaiah 4 and 1 in NLT. In that day, so few men we will be left that 7 women will fight for each man, saying, let us all marry you. We will provide our own food and clothing. Only let us take your name so we won't be mocked as old maids. See? And that's really self explanatory when you're going in the NLT, you know. And these women, they're going to want to come. They're going to, like I said, they're going to flock to you, you know. Cause time's gonna be hard. There ain't gonna be no men. Most of these men, these 2/3 gonna be out of there. Then these men, they gonna be out in the war, drafted in them days and them times to come. You know, fighting in that World War III. You know, and let's go. Let's check it out in the ChatGPT. Right, came across to. You know, the brother had brought it out in Vegas. And it's concerning Isaiah Chat GPT concerning Isaiah 4 and 1. We're going to read it. Isaiah 4 and 1 depicts a grim aftermath of divine judgment. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by your name to take away our reproach. You know, they just showing the New King James version of it. What does it mean? Okay, one, symbol of des- devastation and imbalance. The 7 women to one man is not literally, literal, Salakia, but symbolic. Where we will be literal, you know, but I mean symbolic as how many, it says 7. You might have maybe 2 or 3. You might have more than 7, showing a severe demographic collapse. Many men killed in battle, leaving women desperate for social standing and protection. Okay, let's go to that, right? And this is in Second Esdras 16 and 33. Uh, I just stick to the point. The virgin shall mourn, having no bridegroom. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. See? Yeah. And that's where you're gonna get your Isaiah 4:1. That's where you're gonna get that from. And you know what? Let's go to matter of fact, let's go to Isaiah 3 and read the last two verses on down. Yeah. Where 24 goes. I read 24 because it goes in, they're gonna be most of these women gonna be a hot mess, right? Isaiah 3 and 24. And it shall come to pass that instead of sweet smell, there shall be stink, right? And instead of a girdle, a rent. And instead of well set hair, baldness. Well, most of Eve they got that now, bald. And instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty. Yeah, this is telling you that Eve gonna be through out here, right? Isaiah 3 and 25. Thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war, and her gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. Yeah, see, they're gonna be through. The men gonna be in this war or out here in these streets, you know, trying to be big Billy Badass and gonna get destroyed. And and who gonna be protected? The men of the Lord, the elect, right? And they gonna flock to those men. So that's where you get your Isaiah 4 and 1 from, right? So let's go back to ChatGPT. Okay, we're here two. Extreme desperation for legitimacy. I hope I said that right. Yeah, extreme desperation for le- legitimacy. These women offer to provide their own food and clothes, foregoing customary support just to marry and bear a man's name. Right. Their plea, take away our reproach, speaks the shame of being unmarried and childless in that culture. Yeah. See? Number three, the context of judgment and hope. This is the dark setup before verses 2 and 6. Because when you read down to 2 and 6, it's really when, you read Isaiah 4 and 1, most of us don't know. That whole chapter is really beautiful. I mean, it shows you how, when you're in the kingdom, you're going to have a chariot hovering around, above your palace or, your mansion. It's going to be beautiful, right? I read it again. This is the dark setup before verses 2 through 6, where Isaiah transitions from judgment to the promise of the branch of Yahweh Shai, Mashiach Yahweh, cleansing, holiness, and divine protection. Yeah, so yeah, man, this is the reason I thought this was beautiful. It ain't all about you know Isaiah 4 and 1. Brothers get most brothers, not every brother. Brothers that know. I guess when you're new to it, when you come in and you see that Isaiah 4 and 1, you get excited. Yeah, man, I'm gonna have a lot of women, you know, and this and that, you know. You will, but you gotta stay in this thing and do do the work of Yahweh Shema Shai, and like brothers always say, you gonna have to beat these women off you, you know, when you get in the kingdom. But that Isaiah 4:1 is gonna take place before we get in the kingdom. And I just read it to you how it's gonna go, you know. These men gonna be, these so-called tough men they think they got it all together, man. They ain't gonna make it. And these women, sure, they gonna see these men of the Lord, the men of Yahweh Shema Shai. They're gonna try to flock to them, and our little man gonna get picked. So I just hope this been edifying. I wanted to bring this out, you know. Hope this been edifying to the elect. And until next time, I want to give all praises due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rahak, Wakakadash, and double honors to the apostles at Great Millstone, and the bishops and the elders on down, and the high priest that taught them. Until next time, Shalom.